Imagine for a moment a world covered entirely by water, a vast, global ocean stretching from pole to pole. For billions of years, this was Earth. But deep beneath the waves, a slow, powerful change was beginning. The planet's very foundation was starting to move. Think of it like giant rocky puzzle pieces floating on a sea of molten rock. These are the tectonic plates, colossal slabs of crust drifting across the planet's mantle. Their movement, though incredibly slow about the same speed, your fingernails grow as the most powerful force on Earth. Over unimaginable spans of time, these plates began to interact. They collided, they pulled apart, they scraped past each other in a monumental, silent dance. Where they crashed together, the rock had nowhere to go but up. The crust buckled and folded, slowly, inexorably, rising from the depths of the ocean. The first landmasses were born, breaking the surface of the endless blue. These weren't the continents we know today, but raw, barren islands of rock, the first hints of a new world emerging from the sea. As these collisions continued, true giants were born. Mountain ranges pushed skyward by the immense pressure, pierced the clouds with jagged peaks. Imagine the Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, all formed by this incredible geological force. These weren't just piles of rock, they were the planet's new spine, shaping weather patterns and creating entirely new environments. The air, once flowing freely over a flat, watery surface, now had to climb these massive barriers, cooling and releasing its moisture as rain and snow. And the drama didn't stop there. Along the edges of these plates, where the crust was thin and fractured, another force was at work. Magma from deep within the Earth surged upward, creating volcanoes. These fiery mountains erupted with explosive power, spewing ash, gas, and molten rock. They were both creators and destroyers. Their eruptions could blanket the land in sterile ash, but over time, that same ash would break down, weathering into incredibly fertile soil. They painted the horizon in brilliant shades of crimson and orange, a constant reminder of the planet's hot, molten heart. So now we have it, newborn continents, towering mountains, and fiery volcanoes. But this land was still lifeless, a world of stark, gray rock under a pale sun. It needed one more crucial ingredient to truly come alive: water. And it came in the form of rain. For millions of years, rain fell upon these barren lands. It wasn't a gentle shower. It was a relentless geological force. Water pooled in depressions, forming the first freshwater lakes. It flowed downhill, seeking the lowest point, and in doing so, it began to carve the land. Tiny trickles of water joined together to form streams, which merged into powerful rivers. These rivers became the planet's arteries, flowing across the continents, carrying sediment and minerals from the mountains down to the plains. Day after day, year after year, century after century, they cut through solid rock, carving deep canyons and wide valleys. The Grand Canyon is a perfect, breathtaking example of this Pewara River's patient work over millions of years. This process, known as erosion, did more than just sculpt the landscape. It created the very foundation for life on land. The rock was ground down into gravel, then sand, then silt, and finally into fine particles of soil. For the first time, Earth had soil. It was a thin layer, a fragile covering on the bedrock, but it was everything. It held moisture. It contained nutrients weathered from the rock. It was a welcoming new home, a place where life, which had until now been confined to the oceans, could finally gain a foothold. The stage was set for one of the most significant events in our planet's history: the greening of the Earth. The first pioneers were incredibly humble. They weren't towering trees or colorful flowers. They were tiny, single-celled organisms, cyanobacteria and algae, carried from the sea by wind and waves. They clung to the damp rocks and soil near the water's edge. They were small, but they were revolutionary. Through photosynthesis, they absorbed sunlight and carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen. They began to change the very atmosphere of the planet. And when they died, their organic matter enriched the soil, making it even more hospitable. Following these tiny pioneers came the first true plants. Mosses were among the earliest, creating soft green carpets over the damp rocks. They didn't have deep roots or complex structures, but they were experts at holding onto moisture and breaking down rock further, continuing the work of soil creation. Then came the ferns. With their intricate fronds and more advanced vascular systems that allowed them to grow taller and further from the immediate water-est edge. For millions of years, vast, swampy fern forests covered the continents. Imagine stepping into this ancient world. The air is thick, humid, and rich with oxygen. The ground is a springy mat of mosses and decaying plant matter. Towering tree-like ferns form a dense canopy overhead, casting the forest floor in a deep emerald green light. Strange primitive insects, some as large as seagulls, buzz through the air. This was the Carboniferous period, a time when plant life exploded across the land, laying down the massive deposits of organic matter that would one day become our coal seams. Life had conquered the land. What was once a desolate world of rock and water had been transformed into a living, breathing canvas. The stark gray of the continents was now painted in vibrant shades of green. The blue of the oceans was now complemented by the green of the forests. This transition wasn't just a change in scenery, it fundamentally altered the planet. The new plant life pumped massive amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere, creating the air we breathe today. They stabilized the soil, preventing erosion. They created new habitats, new niches, new opportunities for life to diversify and evolve. This greening of the earth paved the way for the next chapter of life's story, the emergence of land animals. First came the invertebrate insects, spiders, and millipedes following the food source that the plants provided. Then, brave vertebrates, fish with sturdy fins that evolved into legs, crawled out of the water, becoming the first amphibians. From them would eventually rise the reptiles, the dinosaurs, the mammals, and finally, us. Every forest we walk through, every mountain we climb, every river we see, is a direct descendant of this incredible period of transformation. The very soil beneath our feet is a legacy of this ancient dance between rock, water, and the first tenacious green shoots of life. The journey from a water world to a living green and blue planet was a long and dramatic one, a story of immense geological power and incredible biological resilience. It was the beginning of the world as we know it, an age of land, sky, and abundant life. Have you ever wondered what came after the first spark of life? Imagine a world where the continents are just beginning to take their shape, pushing up from the vast ancient oceans. As life tentatively spreads across these new lands, our planet is undergoing a quiet yet profound transformation. The air becomes richer, the skies turn a brighter shade of blue, and deep beneath the waves, a new chapter is silently being written. The story of Earth is a saga of constant change, and this was one of its most pivotal moments. From the sun-drenched shores to the mysterious ocean depths, new, more complex forms of life are preparing to make their grand entrance. The era of simple, single-celled existence is drawing to a close, paving the way for evolution's next great masterpiece. The dawn of a new age is upon us. Thanks for watching, and if you're curious to see what happens next, don't forget to like and subscribe. For billions of years, our planet was a masterpiece of geology, sculpted by fire, carved by water, and painted by the patient hand of time. Earth's surface was a quiet canvas, a world of silent, majestic landscapes. But deep beneath the calm blue oceans, a revolution was brewing. It started with a spark so tiny it was invisible, yet so powerful it was unstoppable. This was the dawn of cooperation. Life, in its simplest form, single-celled organisms began to join forces. Imagine these microscopic pioneers realizing they were stronger together. They formed colonies, then complex bodies, a living tapestry woven from individual threads. This was a critical turning point. Cells began to specialize, taking on unique roles. Some became dedicated to movement, others to sensing light, and still others to digesting food. It was like a society being born within a single organism. And with this newfound teamwork, the impossible suddenly became real. Life evolved. In what feels like a geological blink of an eye, around 541 million years ago, Earth awakened. It wasn't a gentle stir. It was a dazzling, chaotic, and spectacular explosion of diversity. We call it the Cambrian explosion. The oceans, once serene and empty, were suddenly teeming with creatures straight out of a fantasy novel. Life had just thrown the most incredible party, and the guest list was wild. Picture this. Crawling across the seafloor were trilobites, adorned with intricate armored shells, nature's first knights. Floating gracefully through the currents were strange, jelly-like beings, shimmering with an ethereal glow. But this new world wasn't just beautiful, it was dangerous. For the first time, true predators emerged. Creatures like the formidable Anomalocaris, the abnormal shrimp, equipped with large eyes and grasping claws, hunted their prey with terrifying purpose. The ocean had transformed from a tranquil abyss into a battlefield of survival. This was the crucible where the fundamental laws of nature were forged. Life was learning, adapting, and competing in a relentless struggle. The rule was simple but brutal. Those who could adapt would endure. Those who couldn't would vanish into the fossil record. This intense pressure cooker of evolution didn't just produce individual species, it created entire ecosystems. Food webs became intricate with layers of predators and prey, scavengers and filter feeders, all interconnected in a delicate dance of existence. The planet was no longer just a sphere of rock and water. It was alive, it was breathing, pulsing with the energy of countless new life forms. This vibrant chaos, this explosion of creativity, laid the groundwork for everything that was to come. From these ancient, bizarre ocean dwellers, the ancestors of all complex life on Earth would eventually rise, including us. Every fish, every reptile, every bird, every mammal, and yes, every human, can trace its lineage back to this primordial flurry of evolution. The Cambrian explosion wasn't just an event, it was a declaration. It was life announcing its arrival on the grand stage of the cosmos. It proved that from simplicity, unimaginable complexity could arise. The stage was now set, the players were in place, and the next incredible act was about to begin. Life, having conquered the oceans, was now gazing upward toward the shores. The next great adventure would be its daring journey from the familiar waters onto the barren, alien landscape of the land. And when that happened, the face of Earth would be changed forever. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you're fascinated by the story of life on our planet, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We have so many more chapters of Earth's incredible history to explore together. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you in the next one.